Hey guys, Sarah here with Yarn Lab Canada, and today I have a little special treat for you. I thought it would be fun to film a little vlog on how I film and edit and upload my weekly podcast. So I'm going to be taking some footage over the course of this morning while I do that process. Hope you guys enjoy this. So lately I've been waking up around 6 a.m. On account of the twins not letting me sleep for longer than 3-hour stretches at any given time. So usually I film my podcast on a Tuesday morning before going into the lab, and what I like to do is wake up, have some breakfast, usually watch a podcast while I eat my breakfast, and more likely than not I like to try and finish off at least finish my rows on all the projects that I have as whips, but I like to try and finish off something. Usually I have an FO that's so close to being done. So usually I'm doing a little bit of frantic last minute knitting while I eat my breakfast and kind of get woken up before getting ready to film. And this is my current knitting spot, with as many pillows as I can sort of cram onto one couch with me at any given time. The way that I typically set up for my podcast is I write out all of my show notes just sort of like loose hand as a guide to make sure I'm not missing any of the things that I wanted to talk about. And as I'm writing the notes out, I get out all of my works in progresses and finished projects and any yarn that I might be showing off, any fiber that I might be showing off, and I just sort of put it all on my table where I'm going to film. And I just make sure that as I write each project information into my notepad, I get everything for that project onto the table so that I don't have to do too much getting up and down while filming, and so that, oh, baby's moving. Woo. And it's big kicks. So that I don't have to do too much up and down while filming, and so that I don't miss out on any of the projects that I wanted to cover. And then, once I've got everything set up on the table, I set up my camera on my tripod and start filming. So then I film my podcast at my kitchen table with my video camera on a tripod. I've had this camera for a couple years now, and I prefer to film on it versus my phone or my DLR because it makes great, it's just really reliable. It does HD. And it's easier to set up on the tripod to get whatever shot I'm kind of going for. It is a Sony Handycam, and what you can do is you can flip out the view and flip it around so that you can see what you've got in frame and how your shot looks while you're filming. It's got a pretty good manual zoom and the belly is in the frame right now. It's got a pretty good manual zoom, and it has a bunch of features that I don't use. Really, I just capture the video in HD and then upload onto my computer and do all the editing there, but you can do some amount of editing on the camera itself. It's a relatively inexpensive digital camera, and I do like it quite a lot. As far as lighting goes, I don't really use any. I do try and make a point to film during the daytime when I have good light coming in through my patio doors, which are just back behind the camera right now. And then I do just leave my overhead IKEA light on. The white paper shade diffuses it a bit. But as long as it's daylight, you do get a nice enough soft ambient sort of light to film in this apartment. And because it is, you know, like a one-bedroom apartment, I really don't have any other options. It's just the patio door in my living room or the one small window in my bedroom. So hopefully when I move to our new townhouse in June, I'll be able to set up a better place to film from. But in the meantime, this has been just fine. Like I said, I always do the camera on the tripod. Don't mind the boxes, like I said, getting ready to move, and my apartment is starting to get packed up. This is just a standard tripod, and it is really handy if you are going to get into making more videos. You can extend it up quite high and use it to film downwards to do tutorial type videos. I get a lot of use out of this tripod, so it was a good investment, and it's definitely more handy than trying to prop a camera up on books and boxes. And I will just comment that whenever I'm filming the podcast, I do always like to make sure that the camera is plugged in so that I don't have to worry about running out of battery life on the camera, since sometimes you are filming for 1 hour podcasts. I'm usually filming for closer to an hour and a half, just with the amount of stuff that I cut out. And then the other thing is that I don't currently use any other mic apart from the built-in microphone on the camera. And I would say that the next thing that I would like to improve as far as the quality of this podcast goes, over investing in lighting, would be to invest in a microphone. Just because although I notice that this camera does do a pretty good job picking up the audio, it also picks up a lot of background noise. In particular, the hum of my refrigerator will oftentimes be in the background if there's anything going on outside. And so a mic that I could wear, or even a directional mic on the camera, would clean that up quite a lot. So that would probably be the one thing that I would be looking into investing in, to improve the quality of my podcast. But right now I figure that most people care more for the content than they do for the quality. At least that's how I feel. As long as your quality is sufficient, then people are either going to tune in or they're not, right? After I finish filming my podcast, I do always just like to lay out everything that I featured in the podcast this week on the table and grab some footage that I use in the intro clip, and then a still shot that I will share on Instagram later. So it kind of gives like a sneak peek of everything that's featured in this week's podcast episode. So once I've finished filming my podcast and I've got all of the video clips that I want to use in this week's episode, I upload them all onto my computer, and I do all of my editing in Adobe Premiere Pro, and I have the most recent edition. I only use this software because I'm a student and I get a quite significantly discounted student price to purchase the software for a year. And I also use it for, I buy the whole Creative Cloud package, and I use some of it for work, and so that's why I get the discounted student price. But I also use Premiere Pro for my editing. If you weren't using Premiere Pro, I have in the past edited video in, Windows Movie Maker, I think is the one that comes with, comes pre-installed on all Windows computers. And a lot of people also edit in, I don't know, is it Final Cut on a Mac? I'm not a Mac person, but both Windows and Macs come with pre-installed video editing software. And for me, I like to go through and cut out all of the dead space. When I'm filming, I oftentimes will lose my train of thought or be repetitive, and so I can kind of compress the video down into something that I really like. You can also use the software to add and correct the audio levels, add and correct the lighting. You can add titles. I mean, Premiere Pro you can really do. I don't even utilize half of the functionality, I'm sure of it. Although every time I edit a video, I find that I get a little bit better at the functionality of the program. So I won't go into the specifics of how I do my editing because it's program specific, and I'm certainly not a Premiere Pro expert to give you all of the tips and tricks on that. But I will say that if I'm editing a 1 hour video, it probably takes at least an hour and a half to 2 hours to do the edits for that. And that's assuming that it's a podcast video in which there will be long breaks of time that I don't have to do any cutting. If you're doing if I'm doing like a shorter video where I have multiple camera angles, multiple shots, you might spend over an hour editing a 10-minute video. You might spend several hours editing a 10-minute video. The other thing that I really like that I can do in video editing is that I can insert in additional images and graphics directly into my video without interrupting the audio. When I put, if I refer to a photo that I've taken, I don't typically like to have a break in the audio. I like to, be able to discuss the photo while you're seeing it. So by taking the time to edit your video in a real video editing program, you can do that and have things be a lot more seamless. So the other thing I just wanted to mention quickly is after I finish editing, when I sort of export my video out of the editing software into its final format, first of all, I always make sure that I export or package the video as an MP4. There's a couple of different video file types, and MP4s are what YouTube prefers, and it'll take a lot longer to upload your video if it's doing a conversion from like a .avi or .mov, so some of the other video formats. If it's doing that conversion from that to an MP4 while it uploads, then I find that the time to upload will stretch out astronomically. So one tip is I do always make sure that I've already converted my video into an MP4 file format, and I also compress the video file a little bit. Oftentimes your camera is capturing at a higher frame rate and producing bigger file sizes than is truly necessary for a YouTube video, so you can cut down the upload time by compressing the file into a little bit of a lower quality, although I find that it doesn't take away from the final video. I don't notice the difference because, let's be honest, these aren't videos that we're watching on a big screen, right? So I compress my file a little bit to get it down to something a bit more manageable. And then when I go to upload it, if I do upload from home, usually after doing that compression, it's something that looks around like 300 minutes on my internet connection to upload a 1-hour video, and so I would upload overnight. But if I take my video on a flash drive into work, the university connection is way faster and it takes about 10 minutes to upload there. So much, much better. And then the final thing is that when you actually go to upload your video, there's the option right at the very beginning, and you can't quite see it, but there's the option on this very first upload page to upload as public. But what I usually like to do is upload as a private video first, so that I can make sure that it uploads fine. I can go ahead and add in the video tags, I can add in the video description, I can add in the custom thumbnail, and then set it over to public. I find that if I upload as public, then there's usually a lag between me doing my final touch-ups on sort of the stuff that goes with your video, whereas just uploading private first gives you time to tweak whatever you need to tweak in like the video description, video titles, if you're going to monetize or not monetize your videos, all of the stuff that goes around the video on YouTube. You can tweak, you can add in annotations, you can add in end cards, and uploading to private first is what I usually like to do, and then switch it on over to public. So that's my sort of, in a nutshell, overview of filming and uploading my weekly podcast. I will in the future probably do some more YouTube related videos, because it's just something that I am really quite interested in, and I think that, as knitters, we are coming to YouTube without necessarily the whole tool set, and myself, I'm included in this, that people who are coming to YouTube from like a video production background, and so I think that there is some interest in some of the real utilization of this format for video. So there might be some sort of like tips for YouTube videos in the future, although that could just be an idea in my head that having babies in a couple of weeks might squash pretty quickly. But maybe further on down the line, that's something that I am interested in doing. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful or interesting. If you do have any interest in seeing more sort of knitting and YouTube specific videos in the future, let me know in the comments below or over on Ravelry. If you have any questions for me, let me know as well. That's all for now, and happy experimenting with Fibre, guys.